So every now and then, I'll get somebody messaging me, ask me to check out their band. It happens. And, you know, I always like checking out new music, and, you know, I'll absolutely listen when I can. And it's not always good. Sometimes it's alright. And in this most recent case, it was really, really good. The band I'm going to talk about right now is called 7 Minute Martians. And someone who had, I think, found me through Instagram or something, you know, I helped them out with a guitar-related question, you know, however long back. I mean, I get so many of them, it's hard to really pinpoint them all. But anyway, he comes to me, he says, you know, I'd really like you to check out my music, and, you know, just let me know what you think. And I gotta be honest, I really think that a lot of you pop punk fans deserve to check it out. And I don't say that lightly. You guys know how I feel about pop punk, especially these days, because it doesn't really do that much for me anymore. As much as I used to love it, you know, 10, 15 years ago, it gets a bit stale for me. But these guys, you know, they're very underground right now. But, you know, immediately I put on one of the songs and I could tell just how much effort was put into the songs. And that goes a long way for me. You know, effort really means a lot to me. And, you know, I really want to support people that really put, you know, their all into something. The name of the album is Curious. I'm not sure when it came out. It looks like it came out maybe a couple months ago. But I listened to the whole thing, and, you know, there really isn't a bad song on it. And as far as pop punk goes, I think it really, I really think it stands up to a lot of the heavy hitters out there. I mean, I really, really think it does. I wrote some notes here just to kind of help me remember everything that I wanted to say. But immediately I get sort of a underclass hero. I think that's what it was. It was the album, the Sum 41 album after Dave had left originally. I'm pretty sure, yeah, it was Underclass Hero. But just better sounding, you know, entirely. I get that sort of vibe from the songwriting, and just from a lot of the vocals, from a lot of just like the way that the songs are structured. I get that vibe from it a lot, and I don't think that's a bad thing. You know, I think that Underclass Hero, when it came out, hit on a lot of good things, but it missed on some things, especially production wise, because I'm pretty sure Derek Whibley had produced that, maybe even mixed and mastered. I don't remember, but it really didn't sound that good. I mean, the songwriting was fine, but sonically it just didn't really please my ears that much, and that is so not the case with this album. I really, really like the production on it, and I think that the mix is about as perfect as you can get from a pop punk band. And for such a unknown pop punk band, it's really surprising. You know, I'm checking like their YouTube stuff, and they don't have a lot of views, and, you know, they absolutely deserve it. The guitars sound great. I saw a quick music video. It looked like they were both actually using Tom DeLonge signature guitars, which is cool. One of them was using the Strat, one was using the semi-hollow, and I don't know if that's what they used to record the songs. I'm assuming it probably is, and everything sounds great. There's a lot of just like heavier, faster, palm muting type of like punk riffs, but there's a lot of like fast, not really like lead, but more like melodic parts throughout that really blend together really nicely. You know, another nod to the mix just being so good. The riffs themselves, some of them are better than others, but you know, it's, you know, very pop punk in its form. You know, I've heard a lot of bad pop punk riffs over the past couple years, but there was nothing in this album that made me just kind of, you know, feel kind of upset, I guess. You know, I can get upset over a bad riff every now and then, but there was nothing in here that just felt, you know, stale or anything like that. You know, they fit the songs, and the rhythms behind them definitely accentuated them and made those parts of the songs more interesting, because you could do, you know, a certain type of riff, you know, like they do in one of these songs, and if the rest of the band isn't helping elevate that part, then it's not really going to be all that exciting. But they really do a good job of making the most of what they are, you know, and you know, that's not always an easy task. Let's see, what else do I have here? So I said the drum, or the guitars sound great. The drums sound really good. Just the whole production and mix of the drums was really well done, I think. I don't know a lot about drumming and, you know, recording drums or anything like that, but you know, I thought the drumming sounded great, and even just the drumming performance itself I thought was really solid. I think that the drummer is definitely, like I said, elevating those songs, making them more exciting, and kind of like a Travis Barker sort of way of turning, you know, a really simple song into something bigger and better. The bass gets lost a little bit here and there, but there's definitely some moments where it shines, and I do appreciate that. But a lot of the bass on the album is really just to fatten up the sound, and the album is fat. You know, it's a thick, fat, sonic brick wall in the best way possible. It really is. You know, that was a big thing about Underclass Hero that I didn't like, was that it just sounded kind of flat and didn't feel like it had a lot of life to it, and yeah, that's totally not the case here. I don't have too many actual song references to go off of. I wrote a couple down just to mention. There's a song called Damn Near Perfect that is kind of like, to kind of show you guys maybe, or give you an example of something you guys might know. Boxcar Racer's Letters to God. It's kind of like that, where the first half or so is strictly acoustic and vocals, and then, you know, the full band sort of thing comes in, you know, the second half. And I don't really think the first half is all that exciting. I certainly didn't expect the change to the full band halfway through, but I think that second half of the song is some of the strongest music on the whole album, so I think it makes up for the first half of the song. There was a song called If Only Now that I thought was really cool, and it had a lot of like Reliant K sort of vocal harmonies, and I haven't listened to Reliant K in probably 10 years, but as soon as I heard the ending of that song, it brought me right back to that, and I thought that was really cool, because Reliant K, you know, they do a really good job with that, and it's definitely not an easy thing to kind of replicate, so that's really cool. And that being said, I there's 2 singers in the band as far as I know, maybe more, but I believe it's the 2, or it's one of the guitar players for sure, and I'm not I don't remember if the other one was also the bass player or the other guitar player, but they complement each other really well, and they harmonize off of each other a lot, and it definitely makes it more interesting to listen to, kind of like a 4 Year Strong sort of vibe. Yeah, and they work together really well. You know, they're fairly similar in their range as far as I can tell. but one of them's got a little bit more raspy of a voice, which I definitely like. Kind of like a Good Charlotte kind of vibe almost, where Joel's got a much cleaner sort of voice, and Benji had like the raspier, kind of nastier sort of vocals, which, you know, it's similar, but there's definitely a difference, and I think that's pretty cool. There's a song called Never Miss a Beat that has a really cool intro. It definitely reminded me of Asthenia from Blink-182, and, you know, some of the Angels and Airwaves sort of stuff, even though like the rest of the song is definitely just a straight up kind of fast pop punk thing. But I thought that was cool, and I definitely appreciate like all the extra sort of things that kind of make a song, you know, more three-dimensional. You know, it's kind of, I don't know if it's exactly like Asthenia, where it's like astronaut tapes or like audio or whatever, but it's something along those lines at least. And you know, it's just like a cool little thing to kind of make that song stand out a bit from some of the others. Yeah, the drums, like I said, are very creative. You know, definitely not your standard simple beats. You know, I definitely do appreciate that. So I don't want to just, you know, talk about everything I like about the album. I definitely don't think it's perfect. That being said, you know, as a lot of you know, I'm not the biggest fan of pop punk these days. You know, I've definitely branched out a lot, and so, you know, I can't call it perfect. You know, I don't want to just, you know, praise it, and that's it. That being said, you know, pretty much everything that I have to say about it negatively is not going to be a negative for anybody else. For example, one of the notes that I wrote here is some of it is a bit predictable. Pop punk is something that I talk about being very cookie cutter these days, where a lot of bands sound very similar, and I don't think that these guys are, you know, a dead ringer for anybody else. You know, they definitely take a lot from a lot of different places, but there's some parts of of some of the songs where I'm like, yeah, I know exactly where this is going. I know that, you know, this chord is coming, or I know that, you know, this drum fill is coming here. So, you know, in that aspect, you know, it doesn't really like irritate me. It's just, you know, it's not something that I'm surprised about. That's just kind of how it goes with pop punk. A lot of the song structures are very similar, but maybe that's just me. Maybe I am, you know, especially I write so many songs these days. You know, I try to make songs that aren't necessarily going to fit that same pattern, you know, verse, pre-chorus, chorus, verse, pre-chorus, whatever. So, I mean, in that aspect, I think they could change things up a bit, maybe add some sections that don't really make sense initially, but, you know, kind of catch you off guard a little bit. I think that would be cool. A band that does that, for example, a lot is called Such Gold. I really appreciate that they do that a lot. And, you know, if I'm listening to a new song, there's plenty of times where, you know, they catch me out of left field. You know, I listen to a part that I would not have expected. So that's something I think the band could benefit from. And the only other really negative thing I have to say, which, like I said, is totally just about me, are the lyrics. The lyrics are very cliche, I'd say, for pop punk. I didn't listen like super close to all the lyrics. I was just getting, you know, more overall vibe of the songs, but most of the lyrics I remember, you know, they're about the girl, you know, that got away, or chasing the girl, or whatever. And, you know, that's very typical of pop punk. I think it's a bit worn out personally, but, you know, a lot of those teenagers that are listening to pop punk and just getting into pop punk, those are the lyrics that mean the most to them, and I get it, you know. I don't fault these bands for writing about those things, because, you know, most of these bands are younger, and those are the experiences that they have, and those are what they want to talk about, and that's what they want to get out. You know, I totally get that. So I don't necessarily find that a fault. That's just something about me personally that, you know, it doesn't really excite me that much. But you know, that's a big reason why I am such a big fan of instrumental music. You know, I love that. You don't really have to worry about lyrics. You can kind of just make up your own sort of thing if you really want to. But I don't know. Enough about me. So yeah, that's really all I have to say about this album. Like I said, if you want to check this out, the whole album's on YouTube. It's on Spotify, I know that for sure. And I'll put a bunch of links below where you can check it out. You know, I really do think that a lot of you guys are going to like it. And if you do, you know, definitely tell them that I sent you. You know, like I said, you know, me especially, as big of a critic of pop punk these days, and as much of a cynic of pop punk these days as I am, I don't say it lightly when I say this is a band worth listening to, and a band that I really think deserves more attention. So check them out, and hope you enjoy, and let me know what you think. I'll see you guys later.